So with the information hiding, actually what we mean now with this information hiding and encapsulation, actually the idea behind that is that we hide, like we've seen here, for example, this is the class student and test student. I'm going to put it into two separated windows so I can see them both. So you can see this is my student, and it has only one method, output details. So this is what it does, what's inside of it, and here I'm just calling it. It's like the scanner that we've been using. The scanner we use the next int, next double, all of them. Do we know how internally what's the code of next int, next double? No, we don't, because it's inside of that class. Same thing here, this output details. Do we know the code of it? Well, if we are using that class, when we use the method that is inside of that class, are we able to see what's the code of that? Did they put one system out.print, or maybe they print a lot of them? We have no idea. Actually, we're hiding the implementation from the user, the developer that is going to be using our class. So this is what it referred to, something that is hiding. Like for example here, when I put this programming inside of S. Now if I use s.substring, this substring, how it is implemented, how it works internally, what is the code of that, we don't know it because this is hidden from it. So there's also another thing, is that in order to assess some kind of hiding, and sometimes more about protecting variables from being accessed freely, we use these access modifiers. Before talking about these access modifiers, I just would like to show you some things, and I have included some of the information here that doesn't make sense. For example, look at this GPA. Now these are the variable, these are the class variables, and I'm able to put any value I want, as long as it is respecting the data type, because this data type of this is double, but I can put a double that is negative. However, in the context of a student, a GPA should not be negative. It's impossible, right? Also, another problem is, what about this GPA? 25. Well, this is not possible. The GPA should not be greater than 4, 5, well, depending on the places. I think here it's 4. Here it is 4. 2.5. Well, I'm saying I make it 2.5. Yes, I will. But if my code currently does not support does not make any verification, it allows me to put any value I want. So now, in order for me not to control, now what I'm doing actually when I'm doing something like this, I tell the ones that are going to be using my class, well, you're on your own. I'm giving you just the variables, you do the checking. If I need to check, I have to check it here. Let's say, for example, I would like, let's just remove this S2, I don't need it for now. And I'm going just to, sorry, I meant S2. And I just would like to ask the user to enter those information, okay? And so I'm going to use the scanner, right? KB equal new scanner. System.in. And because I use control space, I know that this was added, this import. I'm just going to make it bigger so I can see clearly. And now let me ask the user to enter the student's name, or maybe ID, name, and GPA. And then instead of, because I asked for ID first, I'm going to put the ID first. I'm going just to put kb.next int in here, and here I should use kb dot what? Well, name is a string, so I need to use only those that have strings. I have next and next line. Remember the difference between next and next line?
Yes, this for next line for more than one word.
More than one word. And the name can contain more than one word?
No.
No? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, it can, because you have first name, last name, so it can be more than one word. So I'm going to use next line. And the GPA, kb.next double. So now I'm asking the user to give me those values, and I just display those values. But now do I check if the user gives me some values that make sense? No, I'm not. So if I run this, I'm going just to enter the student's ID. So let's say I can enter something like this. Well, this is not a valid ID. And then, okay, that's not me. Something happened. And it said there was a problem, and at this line 27. Let me click on this line and see what happened. Maybe I made a mistake. I pressed enter twice or something. I don't understand. Let me see now. This is the ID. Let me see. This is the ID, and then this is my line. Okay, there's something I'm missing. Well, yes, but it doesn't allow me to read the GPA because it's... Okay, let me do something. Let me enter the student's ID first. I'm going to do something like this. And then for each line, I'm going to be doing differently. Maybe because I'm reading read line, it has some problems with multiple values at the same time. Let me see. So this is the name and GPA. Let's do this way. I hope inshallah it's going to be okay. So this is the ID again. What is that? The GPA is double. It is. So KB next double. It doesn't allow me to. So I don't know what is the problem. So what I'm going to be doing.
Maybe the problem with the file, not with the...
No, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes, let me do something. Sometimes it happens. So, and when it doesn't make sense, there are two ways. Let's first of all make sure that we understand what is the problem. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to click in on this here. You remember what this does? It allows me to go for the debugging, which means what? Well, execute step by step, exactly. I'm going to execute line by line, starting from here. Well, I can start before. Let's just maybe start before so you can see it. And then I need to run it with this button over here, debug project. Now, when I'm running now with this debug project, it is going to run everything, and when it starts here, it's going to show me this is in green. That means this is what I'm about to execute. Now, if I execute line by line, I need to go this step over. Click on step over, and it's going to... Well, I don't know this. These are some old things that I used. But I just would like to have the output also displayed so I can keep it and see it at the same time. So this is my output. And you can see this was executed. Now, alaikum salam. It is waiting for me to run this line. I'm going to run this line by step over. And you can see now the computer is waiting for me. There's no line here now, no green line. That means it is waiting for me to do something. So, well, let's type whatever I need to type. 1, 2, 3. This is the thing. Now, this 1, 2, 3 is inside. Where is this? Why did I save this? Inside s1.id. So you can see that s1 here. If I click on it, I can have 3 things. The ID now has 1, 2, 3, and it's better to have the value there, so I can squeeze this. So this is my value of my variable ID. Okay, now it's about to execute this line. Let's do it. Now student name, and this is where something is going to happen. I'm going to continue. I see there was a problem. You see, this is the problem. The name was not holding what I typed, which doesn't make sense, because next line should read the whole line and put it inside of the variable. So why is it not working? I have no idea. So it doesn't make sense. So sometimes NetBeans does something weird. So I'm going to just, in case allow items, this is the problem. I'm going to close and run again and restart the NetBeans, hoping that this is the problem, because I don't see what is the problem. So I'm going to now click again to this kb.nextLine and run it again to see if this is going to be a problem. So again, 1, 2, 3, whatever. No. Now press enter. Okay, once I pressed enter, I don't see now all these. This is the type, and this is the value. I pressed enter. Now I just need to step over. Well, same problem. I'm doing something wrong then, but I don't see it. Okay, what I'm going to do for now, because I don't want to spend too much time finding out what is the problem, let's use next, and I don't want to read the whole line, just one name. I don't know. Let's try that if it's going to create the same problem. Okay, there's something I don't get, but inshallah maybe later on I'm going to check it. So you have seen that now I'm able to display two things. This is output details, which display this thing over here. Did it? No. This is what the this is the one that was displayed by output details. How I know? Because this is what I can see, the name. Maybe because let's put the name this way. Name, ID, and GPA. This is what's inside of it. So if I run it again, I can see that wherever I type, so this is my ID, my name, and my GPA. Name, ID, GPA. And then I can display them. I just added this to show you that I can also access. I can change the content of ID. For example, I changed it, and I can also see what's inside of it and display it. Now I display the name first and then the ID and GPA. Now the problem is that you have noticed that this 52 doesn't make sense. So now doing something like this, we designed a class that is not really useful, because I'm using someone created this class student, I'm using it, but it doesn't help me check if the GPA is doing fine, or maybe if the name is not empty, or do some different checkings that I need to be doing for this specific information related to the student. And also it helps, it does something, is that it allows me to put the GPA, which is wrong values, and we don't want to do that. We would like to be able to control more what goes inside and what doesn't. For example, normally the GPA should not be entered by the user, it should be calculated, right? So this doesn't make sense to put it like that. It should be calculated based on whatever are your assessments in different courses, and then this is generated. Well, how can I do that? Well, we're going to show you something now. We can allow a variable to be accessed like this. This is what I mean by accessing the variable. I'm getting the content of it, what's inside of it. And here I'm going to be able to change the content of the variable, like what I'm doing here on these lines. This GPA, name, and and ID, I'm changing their content. Now the thing is, what happens if I want to allow the GPA to be seen but not changed, I want to allow this to be okay, but this not to be permissible. Yes.
Use the accessor, for example, private.
Well, this is exactly what we need to use. The private, but what is that private? First of all, in order for me to be able to do that, I mean, I just would like to control my variables inside of my class. Now, by default, what we've been using is that I declare a variable, I can use it as, I can see what's inside of it and change the content of it normally freely as I wish. However, if I'd like to put some more constraints, I need to do something different now. So what is the difference that I need to be doing is that actually I need to work with this public and private. So what this means is that, well, before looking at the code, public means this variable, I can access it, I can change it, I can see it as I want. Private means this variable, I cannot see it, I cannot access it. But when I'm saying I cannot see it from outside of the class, let me show you what I mean. Now I'm focusing on this class student. Notice if I put, for example, the GPA to be private and the rest to be public. And just to show you one of the others, let me just remove the one and leave them as they were. Like you can see, like for example this one, there was no public nor private. I just would like to see, I would like you to see what is the difference between those three. So without anything, without access modifiers, which are the access modifiers are these two, and with the public or with the private. Now if I go outside, inside of the class there's no difference. These variables still work the same way inside of the class. But outside of the class, like if I'm here, for example, I'm not inside the class student, I'm inside another class. And I'm using the class student. Now you realize that there's now starting to be a problem. It tells me GPA has private access to student, in student. Same thing here. Why? Because when I made it private, I cannot change it or see it from outside of the class. Actually, let me show you something better. If I put S1 dot and control space, I normally see this. And let me show you, if I had nothing here, what would I see? Now, control space, you can see, I can see the ID, the GPA, the name, and the output details with a lot of different things that we are going to be talking about that maybe in Java 2. But what we added in our class is ID, GPA, name. Those that are bold, you can see them bold. These are what's inside of my class, what I designed myself. So you can see these are what I have. And notice this symbol here. There's something that's going to be different now when I use public and private. And I leave the other one, not just for comparison. So the ID is public. You see now the icon has changed. The name is as left as it was, so the icon did not change. And where is the GPA? Not there anymore. Why? Because it's private. And if it's private, I cannot see it from outside of the class. I still can use it inside, as you can see. I'm using it here without any problem. This private public doesn't affect anything inside of the class. It's just from outside of the class. Can I access them or not? So that's what this private does. It just hides some variables. So now if I would like to hide this variable, how can I deal with it? For example, I don't want it to be changed like this. I don't want this to be possible. But I would like this to be possible. Okay? So how to do that? Well, how to do that then, this is something that we call this access. I just would like to skip a little bit. These accessors and mutators. So what are these accessors and mutators? If I'd like to make a variable to control, if I would like to be able to read the content of the variable or to change the content of a variable, I have to put it private first. And then I will add a method for each action that I would like to be doing. Do I want to allow the user to, the programmer to change the variable? Then I'm going to use a mutator. If I'd like this developer who's going to be using my class to be able to see the value of the variable, I'll use an accessor. And in our case, for the GPA, what do we want to do? Do we need an accessor or a mutator? Accessor? What do we need for the GPA? We'd like the GPA to be able to be seen but not changed. So what do we need? An accessor or a mutator? Accessor allows us to access the variable, the value of the variable, so we can see the value of the variable. The mutator allows us to change the value of the variable. So that's why what we need here is an accessor. So how an accessor works? Actually, very simple. If I'd like now my GPA to be able to be seen but not changed, first of all, I make it private, as I said. The second thing, I'm going to create an accessor. And an accessor is a very simple method that needs to be public. And it will return something. And this is the first time when we're going to see another type of methods, a method that returns something, a method that is not void. And what should it return? A double, because GPA is double, so I need to return a double. And by default, there's some sort of a standardized way how to name your accessors and mutators. Every accessor, it starts with get. Get, and then the name of the variable that you would like to get. So in here, I will name it get GPA. And I can put it capital or JPA, capital J and PA. But let's put it GPA because it makes more sense. And then I don't need anything between parentheses because there's nothing. And the only thing that I need to do here, return GPA. Return GPA, what it does, now if I'd like to use this method, this get GPA, it is going to look what's inside of this variable GPA and make like this is going to be equal to what's inside of that GPA. So if I'd like to use this to access my GPA, I cannot use this anymore because it's private, but I can use something like get GPA. Now this is like a value. What's the content of this value? It's what's inside of GPA. And doing this, I'm able to achieve what I wanted. Having a variable that I can see what's inside of it by using this method. And I cannot change it because I cannot do something like s1.gpa. Well, I cannot see GPA. You can see GPA doesn't seem to be there. So I cannot change it and I cannot see it. So that's something which is very powerful. It gives me the ability to control the access of my variables. Do I want them to be read, seeing what's inside of them? Or I want them to be changed? Or both of them? And then, like a general good practice of a programmer, again, we're not teaching you now how to program, because you know how to program. We just show you how to organize better your code, how to have a better programming skills. So now we designed the class and we'd like just to be able to make sure that our class is going to be respecting some rules and being able to put some conditions and prepare some good classes that can deal with whatever they're meant to be dealing with. So this is like if I'd like to be able to only allow my variable to only be accessed and not changed, this is what should I do. This is what I should do. Just create, make it private, and then make something that allow me to get the content of the variable. Is it okay up to now? I'm going to make a small change now. Imagine now I would like my GPA to be entered by the user. However, because now this is going to be, let's say, the registrar who is going to use my class. and he's the one who's controlling. You need to enter this manually the first time, and then it's going to be calculated, let's say. Now if I'd like to add that by keeping this private, I need to add the mutator, and that's why actually I want this to be used. I'm using this as an example on how to use mutators. A mutator is a method that allows me to change the content of the variable. And this is what it should look like. Public. A mutator changes something, so it doesn't return anything. So a mutator is void. And I've given it a name. The same way like this has some standardized way how to deal with them. The mutators are sometimes called the setters. The accessors are sometimes called the getters because there's a get inside of them. And set for the setters. So for the mutators, I'm going to call set GPA. Actually, you find that in many different classes. Like for example, KB. Probably if I see some set something, I might be finding some set something if it's possible to set something. But here it doesn't seem to have that. But some others, by default, many classes you can use set something. You can see that it says set something. Get something. So I'm setting something. And now I need your attention because I'm going to be doing something different for the first time. I'm going to be using a parameter here. Okay, first of all, let's understand why do I need a parameter. I need to put something in GPA. Right? But this something doesn't come from this class. It comes from outside of the class. So I need to be able, for example, to do something like let me just copy this. Yes, this is what I want. Something like this. But this GPA, I cannot access it, so I need to do something like set GPA. And then between parentheses, I'm going to send the value I want to. This is the value that is given by the user. I would like to save it inside of GPA. So how to be able to do that? I need to use a variable so I can get what's the value. This is a number, right? You agree with me? This is a number. That number, I need to send it inside the class so I can save it inside GPA. I cannot do it directly. I have to go through a variable. But this is a special variable because this is a variable that is going to be just used to transfer information between outside of the class to inside of the class. And these are parameters. And how to do that? Very simple. I just need to declare the data type of that value and then give it a name. Let's say, for example, G in this case. And now, what I'm saying, if you give me a value here, I'm going to save it inside this G, and whatever it's in G, I'm going to put it inside GPA. And now this is a good example of a mutator, and this is going to work. Now, as soon as I come back here, no more problems. So, to summarize, and we're going to be doing a lot of exercises just related to this. If I'd like to be able to control the access of a variable, I make it private. So by making it private, I cannot access it from outside of the class. But then I need to decide, do I need to allow the user, the developer who is going to be using my class, to access the value or to read the value? Sorry, access and read are the same thing. Or to change the value, read the value or change the value, access the value or change the value. Mutate is change. Get the value or set the value. So this is the two things I need to do: getters or setters. And then I decide if I need them one of them only or both of them. And who decides? Actually, you decide. If you are creating an application, and then you design the classes. For each class, you're going to decide based on your needs. Okay, I need this to be like that, and one accessor, or one mutator, or both of them. It's up to you. You just know now how it's possible. I'm just showing you it is possible to do things like that, and we're going to be understanding a little bit more about how to do them by doing some more exercises, inshallah. The other thing that we have seen that the getters, the accessors, they return something. They become like some sort of a mathematical value. You see, like a mathematical function. This is some sort of a function that gives you a value. What is the data type of that value? What does the data type of that value? And what's inside of it, I mean, this is where does it come from? I'm saying where it comes from. It can be something like this, or can be like a formula that I can put, whatever. It's up to me, okay? I'm the one who decides what to return. Or it can be, in this case, just the result, this value, the content of this variable. So this is for the getters. For the setters, I need to design something that will allow me to send the value from outside of the class to inside of the class. In order to do that, I need this parameter. A parameter is a variable that is declared between the parentheses of the method's head. And this setGPA, it returns nothing, because what it does, it just gets something and then save it somewhere in the class. It doesn't return anything like this one, who gives me a value. This one gives me a value. This one takes a value. So this is how I can get something outside of the class and set something inside, put something inside of the class. Any questions? So what I'd like you to do now, as an exercise based on this, is just to change the same thing, do the same thing for this ID and name. We would like to have also accessors and mutators, just for the sake of getting used to creating them and making sure it works, and changing the code to make it work. And then we would like to have this to be working, instead of having all of these used directly. I would like all of them to be private. And then, of course, you need to change the code to be able to deal with that. So that's what I would like you to be doing, inshallah. Yes? Now, if I run it, what? Okay, that's a good point. Before going into here, let me remove this and then save it and run again. So you can see that if I enter the ID, that's the name, whatever, it doesn't make sense. So this is what I entered for the name. This is what I entered for the GPA. And this is what I entered for the ID. I can see them here. And this is coming from what I typed. Sorry, here. This is coming from what I typed, and this is coming from where? This output details, because in the output details, when I have this name, ID, GPA in one line, and then this is coming from the last 3 lines, system.out print line. So it's working. I can save the content from the user inside of the class, and I can get it out like with this get GPA. So I'm able to save and get the value back. Okay?